Unless you want to give Dave a few more minutes, or he could just join, I don't, up to you.
No, we'll just let him jump in once we get here.
Okay, so go ahead.
Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the January 10th, 2023 Newport Planning Board meeting. It is 6:03. And I'd like to start with a roll call to my right.
Michael Lucio.
Drew Burrows. Fred Spalding, Senior.
Tobin Menard.
And Ken Merrill, acting chair. Okay, agenda review. Notice we're going to continue.
I got a formal request from them, I have it in writing here, to continue it to next month. They're still not prepared with the new plans coming together. So I'd appreciate that. I think you have to do a vote on exact time and date, which February 14th, 6 p.m.
Is there a motion to continue that?
So moved.
Well, wait a minute, you gotta have a motion to get me on here, because I'm...
Oh, I'm sorry. We don't need a motion, we just to state, so Bert Spalding as alternate is sitting for one of the open
Vacant, yeah.
vacant seats.
Thank you.
But will be unable to vote because of the conflict of interest on the school issue. But making sure that we have a quorum. That's the idea.
Okay, so we had a motion from Jim. Who was the second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Tobin second to continue case 2022 SPFP-3 to February 14th at 6 p.m. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed? None. Unanimous? Done. Okay. Next order, new business. We have case 2023-SPFP-1 Newport School District, agent Hayner and Swanson Incorporated. If you want to set up. But before we get to you, has everybody had a chance to review your package?
Yes. So if we're going to have at least one abstention, do we want to have Herb sit on this case also?
He can't.
Only sit for me.
He can't.
Only one excuse. Got it.
Yeah. That's why I invited him on. I thought
But we
maybe.
still have four.
Yeah.
As soon as I said that, I thought through it.
It's okay. Good thought. Okay, so do we have a motion to accept as complete? I would add one caveat before we do that. On the front page, there is no exterior lighting or photometrics showing. So that, in my mind, would be a,
Well, I
Item.
broached it with Tom, who I've been mostly corresponding with and unfortunately couldn't be here this evening. He said he'd look into it, but I haven't got anything back, so I definitely at least think it should be discussed tonight, how that, right, the exterior lighting on the structures. He said he was gonna add no additional pole, telephone, whatever those large poles
Right.
to lit. But I don't see any lighting on the structures and what they'll be.
right. So one of the items on our standard checklist is the photometrics
Oh,
and lighting.
the lighting, yeah.
So if we do want to move forward with it, we could accept as complete with that item to be followed up with, if so moved. Bert?
Yes, one item I want to bring up before we vote that it is complete. I would ask the presenter if the northwest has been changed to northeast on the document.
It
With-
hasn't.
I got a shaken head of someone behind.
Yeah. Hi. Hi, everybody. I'm Julie Spencer, the architect on the project. I do know that Eric Perry brought that to our attention, and then a new draft was issued, but I don't know what copies you have there.
It did, in your new copies, you all got updated.
Okay, well, I want to make, mine isn't, but I've got here. Sit down, sit down. I'm doing absolutely fine. I'm looking at site plan project narrative.
That's not the completeness at this point. Oh. Okay, we haven't gotten to the vote yet. Go ahead, Bert.
The third paragraph down, starting off with the word second, it is proposed to construct a new one-story, 10,088 square foot agriculture building to the northwest of the existing high school. Envision that. Northwest of the high school would be right up to the highway. It has to be northeast. I brought it to the superintendent's attention and to,
Christine.
but it's not here, so in order for it to be complete, that would have to be changed, I would assume. before
It
we
should
go
be.
forward.
It is
Should be
on this
there.
packet.
Mine does say northeast.
Yeah.
Okay.
It should be.
All right, good, we all
So-
get northeast?
yeah,
and
So
we're
in
fine.
in this packet here,
Okay,
it's got
Done.
it.
good.
Okay. I'd like to make a note that at 6:10, Chairman Burnham joined us.
I'll let you finish. Where you at?
So right now, we are just,
Item 5 on the agenda.
we're on item 5, new business. On this case, 2023-SPFP-1, and we are just discussing prior to getting a motion to accept as complete.
Okay.
So in that discussion, there, on the administrative review, there is no exterior lighting, no photometric shown. So if we were going to accept it as complete, I made the statement that that should be a condition of acceptance, that has to get submitted.
Good.
Okay. And then Bert just went into this conversation about northeast, northwest, which appears to be correct. So any other conversation before we go to potential motion?
The only thing is, I'm no longer necessary.
True.
So-
Wonderful statement. But yeah, no, understandable for your position on the school board, and yes, you can recuse yourself from this
How about that?
conversation.
So, I get paid and get to not work. How about that?
Okay. So would anybody like to make a motion to accept with that?
So moved.
Okay. So Jim has made a motion that we accept this case 2023-SPFP-1 with the condition that the photometrics plan and the lighting get included.
Correct.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second for Mike. All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it. Okay, so now, we'd like to open case 2023-SPFP-1 to the presenters.
You comfortable with me presenting from here, or what's
Yeah, no,
standard for
you can stand up, you can put it on the board.
So I'll do a couple things. Is that okay
I
for
don't
it?
care.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Just the viewing audience may not be able to see from there.
I'm happy, I brought an easel, but I thought that might be the best location, just right on top of the bench.
That's fine here, I think.
So, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Ethan Beals. I'm a project manager at Hayner Swanson, a land surveying and civil engineering firm located at 3 Congress Street at Nashua, New Hampshire. Also with me tonight is Julie Spence, representing LaValle Brenzinger Professional Architects, and Ed Emmond from the school district joins us via Zoom. Here tonight to receive your feedback regarding the proposed project, which will include an agricultural building, along with various building and site improvements on the property. As a governmental use, this project is exempt from local land use ordinances and regulations, but is required to provide notice and seek non-binding feedback from the planning board and the staff under RSA 675:54, which is why we are here tonight. I'm going to go ahead and present a brief summary of the overall project and site plan related items. I'll turn it over to LaValle Brenzinger to discuss the building improvements, and then we'd be happy to answer any questions that any of the board may have. The subject property is really made up of two different lots. Map 227, lot 17 is the main parcel located just to the north, shown on the master site plan. And this parcel measures 57 acres in size. There's a smaller parcel just to the south, map 109, lot 119, and this parcel measures 3.87 acres in size. The site is owned by the school district and contains a number of buildings, including a high school, a middle school, a tech center, a number of outbuildings, playfields, basketball courts, and a track. The subject site is located in the R1 single-family residential zoning district. The parcel is abutted by North Main Street and a mix of residential, commercial, and industrial uses to the west, residential and institutional uses to the south, a tennis club and residential uses to the east, and undeveloped land to the north. The total subject property contains approximately a half-mile of frontage along North Main Street with 3 distinct access points. The northernmost curb cut provides access to a large parking lot in the playfields north of the high school building. The middle, or just to the south of that, is the middle curb cut, which provides access to a one-way loop in front of the building. And finally, the southernmost curb cut provides access to a 2-way drive aisle south of the tech center, and this is a private drive known as Thurlow Drive. The proposed project involves 2 distinct areas of the site. First, in the area just south of the existing tech center building, it is proposed to demolish the existing greenhouse and various sheds adjacent to the existing tech center. In this area, the proposed minor site improvements include new pavement, curbing, sidewalks, pavement striping, drainage, fencing, and a patio area. And then I'll turn to this quick architectural rendering, which is looking just northeast at the in the area where the greenhouse formerly was. There are also several interior improvements that are proposed within the existing tech center, but I'll let LaValle speak to those, the extent of those renovations shortly. Of course, being interior building renovations, they're not currently shown on the site plan. The second area is northeast of the high school building and northerly parking lot in an area of the former hockey ice rink. In this area, it is proposed to construct a new 1-story, 10,088 square foot agricultural building. Again, I'll let LaValle speak to the interior features and programming of that building, and I'm just going to focus on the site features. To create space for this building, the existing light poles will be demolished in this area of the site, and the existing maintenance modular building will be relocated. Associated site improvements associated to this proposed agricultural building include 6 new parking spaces, sidewalk and pedestrian connection to the existing high school building, a gravel access drive, and a loading area on the north side of the ag building, and utility and stormwater management features. The new building will be serviced by public sewer and water, propane, and underground telephone and electric utilities. With regards to stormwater management, the intent is to provide both quantitative and qualitative treatment of runoff from the proposed development. 2 new surface basins are proposed. Both the north and to the east of the ag building. Also connecting the 2 basins will be an underground infiltration trench. Really, the goal of these 3 practices will to provide treatment and flood control for the proposed ag building development. I know you had just mentioned site lighting. There initially was no proposed new lighting, but however, late in the game, within the last week, we did decide there will be a couple new light poles and wall packs around the new agricultural building, and new wall packs and solar bollard lighting at the tech center. All of these features will be dark sky, full cutoff compliant. Additionally, the existing sugar shack will be relocated to just north of the new building. And I'll go back to the proposed architectural rendering of the agricultural building, showing the greenhouse adjacent to it. In total, the project will impact approximately 60,000 square feet of site area. This building was designed and sited to minimize impacts to the property and natural resources of the site. Wetlands on site in the 2 areas of the projects were delineated by the project's certified wetland scientists and subsequently surveyed by our office. It is important to note there are no wetland impacts as part of this proposed project. It's also worth noting that the school district and project team extensively studied the best location for the new ag building. The original location is actually where the current ag building is, or current ag building and sugar shack is. But because of, it was originally proposed in that location due to the connectivity to the existing tech center. However, site constraints in that area of the site, including lot geometry, topography, soils, and existing wetlands, was really going to limit the development in that area. And as a result, the proposed ag building in that location would likely have had limited building size and program elements and more extensive permitting effort due to the wetland impacts that would be anticipated, also higher construction costs. And therefore, the current location was ultimately selected. As this is an existing school, construction will be phased to minimize impacts to the school. The renovation portion of the project will start as early as this spring with the installation of new mechanical systems and be completed in by December of 2024. And the new construction of the new ag building will largely begin this summer with a targeted opening date of January 2024. At this point, I'm going to turn it over really quickly to Julie Spence from LaValle to talk about some building interior and renovations, and then we'd be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
You guys can see the renderings. Essentially what's happening programmatically for the tech center is that they're taking the natural resource program and the ag program and co-locating them in a new building. So they're going to use that additional space from ag, the horticulture program moving out of the renovated of the center and to sort of move into that space with the existing programs that they have. And by co-locating the ag over here, this is the new building here. It's a wood structure building, wood truss roof, type 5B construction with a greenhouse attachment. And where we're removing the existing greenhouse, that's the only exterior change to the existing ag building. It is not an insulated wall between the greenhouse and the building, so we have to provide some kind of insulated wall in that location.
So just to summarize and kind of complete the presentation, I know early on the board had mentioned the site lighting, kind of follow-up being an important feature, and understanding we made some of those changes late in the game. We're happy to coordinate fully with staff going forward on providing fixtures and a plan showing the location of those features, and would be happy to at this time answer any questions that the board may have.
Is what's going to be left for buildings in the area south of the proposal?
Everything but the sugar shack.
Just the sugar shack is moving?
The sugar shack is moving, the barn and the existing ag building that are there, they're going to be taken over by facilities because we're moving them out of their the trailer structure that they have there, so they're going to move into that space.
That was my question. You referenced moving the maintenance building. Is that building going away or just being moved?
It's going on.
Okay.
It'll
Being
probably
moved
be
temporarily,
used,
right, per the notes on the plan?
it'll be temporarily used by the construction team during the construction, but at the end of the project, the idea
One of
is
these notes
to
is, construction. Is there have you developed a maintenance plan for the infiltration chamber barriers?
Yes, correct. There is an inspection maintenance manual that will be provided to the school district once we proceed to final design, similar to any release as part of it's a component of the stormwater management plan that we develop, but it will contain a number of both inspection timelines and maintenance related items for both of those basins, correct.
So that to me will have to be part of one of the conditions of approval to get that filed to the town to make sure that it gets done. Because if these things overrun, it's flooding out whatever they invested in the field hockey field. And all the hydrology, the calculations been done to make sure these have enough capacity. I don't see any outfall on any of the ponds.
So the intent, there is as mentioned, there is a subsurface connection between the two of them, and then and again, we typically would study up to a 50-year storm, which is a typical state of New Hampshire requirement. If we had a storm in excess of that, the intent in the grading shown on the plan would be an overflow overland in a northerly direction.
Okay, because that's not indicated yet. on this?
So there's not a formal, there's not a formal piped outlet connection, but if we had a significant, it would just raise up, and then based on the proposed and existing topography of the land, it would overflow overland north. There was we specifically looked at the elevation of the proposed building slab, comparing it to a potential outlet if those basins were to continue to build and build and build, and it would kick north before it started flooding the proposed building.
Right, but it should regularly go northeast, because if it goes true north, it's gonna wipe out the brand new field hockey field that was put in. So,
Yes.
some study needs to be put there.
So you're correct. I was generalizing in a north direction.
No,
You're definitely correct.
Well,
It's more northeast.
Like you said, usually typically in the outfall pond, you're gonna depress 6 inches at the lip or something with some riprap to give it its intended course, if you will. I just was looking for that and didn't see it, 'cause knowing what we invested in the fields, we should address that. Anybody else got questions?
Now, I mean, I don't spend a lot of time down by the high school, but are there sidewalks and crosswalks being put in? Because the kids are gonna be regularly crossing that area. It's not gonna be just sporadic, as somebody goes on a study hall or whatever.
Yep. Yeah, there is a formal sidewalk and pedestrian connection to the if you will, the main campus, the main building. Crossing right in this location, we're showing a tip-down curb and sidewalk piece with a formal painted connection across. Then there's sidewalk right up to the main entrance, proposed ag building.
Is that kidney-shaped island at the end of the parking raised?
I don't believe
just
that is
painted?
raised. I believe that's painted. Yeah, that's currently being shown as a painted island, similar to what is there today.
So they've got plenty of access to take large vehicles, buses.
Correct. That was definitely one of the thinking in the having a painted island versus a raised. Of course, as the board well knows, a raised island provides the ultimate protection, but can make some turning movements, especially with bigger vehicles and/or buses, quite challenging. So,
Are any of the poles being moved that are in the parking lots?
I don't believe so. No.
Okay.
The poles that I had mentioned being removed are more up in the hockey area as opposed to
Those are light poles.
Correct.
I'm talking about the telephone poles.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I don't believe any of those. To service the new building, they're going to use the existing above-ground electric utilities. They'll likely drop another pole in as a riser pole, and then underground electric service to the building. Sorry for the misunderstanding.
No, I'm familiar with the poles, and if you start encroaching on the poles, you could get pinch points, so just wondering. Anybody else got any questions?
Christina, was there any additional follow-up after the questions got answered about the sewer? From the water and sewer department?
I didn't get anything from John, John is the new, no. Although Tom from one of the presenters that couldn't make it tonight stated that it would be nominal. Now, the other thing about the Public Works Director, Todd Cartier, mentioned, and I would assume this would just happen naturally during inspections or when it's being hooked up, that if the hookup to the school, how they're going to tie in is deteriorated or not sufficient or not large enough that they'd improve it at that point of once it's all dug up. So I don't know exactly what's underground there, but they are hooking directly to the school. They're not going to the road, the new building.
So if I can just elaborate really quickly, So one of the reasons she mentioned it was kind of nominal, because really the project involves taking programming from one area of the site and simply moving it. There's no direct, immediate increase in anticipated teachers or students. The reality is that sometimes, usually when a new center is built, you see a nominal increase in students, maybe sending school students, regional students that may come, but there's no significant, it's not a building addition to accommodate another town. It's simply moving programming from one area to another. The intent was, as previously mentioned, to connect and tie into the existing sewer on the site.
Right, I guess, just trying to follow up on the concerns from staff review. Public Works is, made a statement questioning the sewer line that's currently there, because it has been problematic in the past. And if we're gonna, I mean, we are adding bathrooms and whatnot in the new facility, gravity sewer to that and out, so it's gonna have different flows. So it may need to be scoped to verify.
Yeah, so I think as is the case with any underground utility, unfortunately, you don't always really know the condition. There are ways to camera and stuff, but until you really open up the ground, there's a lot of unknown there. So you're absolutely correct. And if we went to tie in and the existing pipe was essentially crumbling and there wasn't a substantial way to tie into it, that would of course be something the project team would need to look into. But that being said, going back to the statement about flows, really the flows from the site should pretty much be the same as what they are currently, though it would be a different location necessarily where they're being tied into, but the overall flows from the site should more or less be the same.
Well, engineering-wise, we're adding 3 4-inch drains, sewer drains, from the new building. The existing shack stays, so technically you are adding to it. So that's why it just needs, it needs to be scoped out.
Yeah, happy to, but yes, happy to do that, absolutely. Happy to look in and try to assess the condition of some of those pieces.
Any other questions, comments from the board? Okay, at this time I'd like to open up to the public. Anybody in the public have any questions, comments?
I got
Your name, please?
Just a handpicked guy, just a few questions. Interesting you brought that sewer up. That's the end of the line there. That's why they never had facilities to make shacks for the huts and everything. Isn't that one of the reasons you're dead end of the line takes all the load of it, right? So that's not what it came for. I just learned today, and I got, and thank you for. I came into the thing and learned how this chapter 674 goes. Essentially, I don't even know what you guys vote on, because basically you're just listening to the proposal, right? You don't really have they have the right to do what they please. Now, don't take that wrong, I'm sorry.
Well, they can.
Yeah.
They can take the municipal exception and just run with it.
That's right, but they present.
Strongly disadvised by a lot of people, because you don't want to slap the white glove at people before you start.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, that is that exception. The municipalities can take that exception and do.
Because my first reaction to it was, knowing the area like I do, I spent enough time down there, it's right next to the wetlands, it used to be a landfill under there, and I'm specifically talking about the piece at the north, where the hockey rink was. And and this building looks like it's maybe too close to the border, but doesn't conform with the R1 zone. But again, they don't have to abide by those, I get that. But so I get to what I wanted to ask. Back in 2007, when they proposed a new school, an addition to the school, and one of the topics that came up was that facility down there, the recreation area, the tennis courts, and the hockey rink were all provided by a grant. And the stipulation for when it came down to it, I got paperwork where they all had figured all into the price of the school, that they, in order to move that facility and put something else there other than another hockey rink or another recreation thing, they had to replace it in light. And that became part of the cost of that new school in 2007. And I have documents here that show that they went out for bids, what the cost of a rink is, and these architects at the time had the figures put into them. So my question is, That's an old grant. Has anybody looked into whether that's still out there? And does this thing override that? This title thing override something to that? You might come across properly. In other words, if you,
I think,
would it be kind of crazy to put something down there and find out someone contested it and said, gee whiz, you took that land, you owe me a hockey rink. And I use hockey rink because you know me, I do. But,
I mean, I think they're two different issues.
well, no,
So the RSA you're talking about is just for the zoning exception, the planning and zoning exception?
yeah, yeah.
I think on the grant issue is something that the school should be obligated to answer.
That's my concern.
Straight
It
up.
was a big issue. That basically changed the way that the vote went for the school. It actually changed the location of it because they determined at the time that they didn't want to go through the replacement of that. So they moved the location to where they have the softball fields now, which those aren't under the granted property. Those are built locally by people. And it ended up getting voted down, but that was one of the issues.
So if I could, Ed, on the TV, if you want to speak?
Yeah,
Your name?
yeah, I thought, my understanding was that the original hockey rink that was at this location was not part of the grant that was, built the fields and stuff, so there was no impact on that.
Well,
That was my understanding.
That's not what we learned back then, and I'm not calling, no, I'm not disputing what you say, you looked into it. That's, at that time, it was looked into. In fact, PJ got involved in it because we were actually in part of looking around for another facility for a recreation field, to relocate that thing, so he knows a little bit about it. And he was in contact with someone in some department through grants, and God knows who, I can't find him, I tried every number in Concord. But, so I'm just concerned that, you know, if that was looked into.
I would think that you'd want to share what you have, Ed, with the school so that they can
Sure,
actively look
I'll
into it.
have somebody check into that and we'll report back on that. The other thing I wanted to report to you was I checked with the maintenance manager for the school district. The sewer line that goes from the high school, middle school to the road, that stretch of sewer line is going to be replaced this spring. It was not as part of this project, but it was planned maintenance because of the problems they've had. So
Does Public Works know that?
the architect and engineer wouldn't have known
Lost him.
that.
We're losing you, Ed, a little. You're frozen.
I don't know who what conversations
Oh, boy.
have been had between Rodney and the sewer department, but
Okay, so I would, based on the notes we got from the admin review, I would say none, because he didn't note it here, maybe he didn't recall it, but it should
From
be
who?
From Public Works, talking
They,
about sewer,
yeah, I don't think they're aware of it, because they're, yeah,
to my point.
yes.
Okay, so, because that would automatically have trumped his own statement, but,
Well, I don't think he was talking about the
Rodney reach
sewer.
out to them to make sure that everything.
No, Todd wasn't talking about the sewer line to the road. He was talking where they're gonna tie in to the school.
well.
But then the sewer to the road is
so
getting
they're-
updated.
So the new building ties the sewer to an existing manhole behind the school, which then goes to the road.
Yes,
The section that he mentions here, that the existing tying into its conditions will, well,
Oh,
has
his-
its past history of blockages, so he's talking about that same.
he's
line.
talking about that line. Okay, I didn't realize,
So we're
yes.
kind of mixing the two here, but if there is a project to fix it, then
Then
that benefits both.
everyone.
Anyway, but it doesn't seem like that
There-
conversation's been had.
I obviously, it sounds like Ed's gonna make them aware, and obviously I can tell Todd, the Public Works also, that they have it in their plans to, outside of this project, to upgrade. When did you say that was happening this spring? Okay,
So back to you, Ed.
Yeah, so so confused.
It was gonna,
You said you heard, someone heard that that's the case. Is that official?
they
Do
put
we know?
aside some money to have the same, my understanding my understanding was that the new building was tying in to the old building, and then the old building's sewer line was being replaced this spring.
So, there's nothing documented that says that, to answer your question, Mr. Carr. That's what we were just talking about.
No, they get off on sewer again.
Well, we were just finishing the sewer, but,
Okay, I'm asking that you guys verify that, I believe that was in effect then, it was a very serious issue.
the grant.
That
You're back
probably
to the
caused
grant.
that probably caused that new school to not being built.
Right.
So I think it needs to be researched before, and again, God knows we need a technical school, we got enough housing going in, we gotta have some place to put them.
Right, so
Had to get
that,
in.
that conversation is not technically under our purview.
I get that.
That's the school's obligation to answer that question, because the school would be in default of the grant at that point.
That's exactly what I'm trying to get to.
Right, but as far as what we're looking at in reviewing this for approval and or conversation, it's really not
Well,
part of the
why wouldn't-
conversation.
Why wouldn't it be? If it's still town school property, I mean, you would accept, you would grant them, and I don't want to come across like I don't want the school or something. I just want to be sure you don't put something up there and have to tear it down next week.
Right, but that's
I
the
just
school's
don't
burden.
understand.
That's
Why you
really
don't-
the school's burden. I mean, unless, I don't know if the grant, I mean, having not seen the grant, was the grant written to the school or to
It
the
was,
town?
that's what I think it was to the town, and, because at that time, that property was town of Newport back in the 70s. And then they put the school down there, and that all became, and then everyone had a real problem. We fought with that in the master plan for years as to who the Dickens had jurisdiction down there. It's been a back and forth type thing, so I just know that was a big issue, so I'm just trying to bring it to somebody's attention.
Can you, I mean, you haven't seen the grant.
No,
Nobody's
we
seen
looked, yeah, when he said the 70s, and our archives they're getting all moved around, but I could try to do some research on it, and obviously Ed seems like he has more knowledge, maybe, but yeah, I could look into it. It was brought to my attention today from this Ed.
If
There's
you
too
go back
many
to, maybe
Eds.
go back to the school
Here.
records, but you say you guys don't have anything to do with it.
Ed, are you sure
Ed was the
that
school?
that grant is in the 70s? Or was it while the school was being
Oh,
built?
it was before that, well before that, David. They built that way back in the 70s, and they built the shed and everything yeah,
The school was built and occupied in 1966,
yeah.
because I was the first class in my
Well, maybe it
full
was the
school.
60s then, I don't know, but it was,
I know when
I
it
know in
was
the
built.
70s, the classes, the technical school shop classes built the sheds, and they did some of the board work and
Yeah.
all that sort of thing to go with it. And it was under that grant, and maybe PJ has that contact. I just think somebody ought to look into it, I don't know.
Ed on TV? Ed?
School
He's frozen again.
He is frozen. I don't think he knows he's frozen.
No, he wants to stay.
They shot, okay, the CTE program didn't start till the 80s.
Yeah, this
It's
was,
fine on my side.
this preceded the CTE center for sure.
Yeah.
So,
I think it should be investigated.
right, yeah,
But this is just a fact-finding mission
right.
right now. We don't have any control over yes
Right.
or no. But that's
Just-
one thing that
right.
they should look at, because if they they dig up that hockey rink and somebody complains about it, the grant will have to be paid back out of taxpayers' money. That's gonna make a lot of people happy.
The school budget.
Was there any conversation that happened when they pulled the basketball courts out, not the basketball, the tennis courts out of there? So that was in the same.
Well, a couple of things have happened that I think, I'm questioning who was responsible for removing that sort of thing. That happened with the tennis courts. One person told me that if you replaced it with another facility, that was acceptable and in the light, but again, that's just hearsay. I've never seen that in writing.
My memory of that conversation was it had to be another like recreational facility at that location.
So there is
They
no
just
one-
change uses.
Yeah, and the tennis courts, I guess they probably put soccer fields or whatever naturally, but there isn't anything like a hockey rink. So, you know, one day it was gone. And I'm just telling you that somebody comes back and complains, who's gonna pay for that? Us?
I think, I'm sorry
No, go ahead.
if I may, I think on behalf of the project team, it's certainly something that we'd be happy to take another look at, go through our files again, more the school district than mine, of course, but happy to take a second look and verify or confirm. I've definitely taken notes of everything that you and the board have mentioned today, and be happy to investigate it.
Bert, being a board member, any comment, any discussion?
For the discussion, I think you're doing fine.
On the topic, I guess I should.
The significant reason for moving the agriculture in the first place was the infringement on the wetlands there. And so that was the motivation for the location.
I don't think anybody's disputing the location or any of that. It's just this whole grant facilities conversation should be investigated before we run
Well,
over it.
I guess I would point to this guy and Ed. They've got it.
Okay.
Far better job than I do.
But you don't
No, I beg
remember
to differ.
any other grant
Yeah.
thing?
Go back one more question. Has the school board in any of their, or whatever team they have working on this, had any of that conversation yet?
Not that I know of, but Ed would know the answer to that because the board has its members on the
That
committee,
committee? Okay.
and I was not one of them.
I see you nodding your head.
No, I've never heard this before. This is
I tried to reach out to Barry, because he was a principal at the time, and he was involved during that school chase, that rebuild time, and he may have something, had something on it, because I couldn't find a thing. I searched and searched, and again, I'm not trying to cause trouble here, I'm just
This
trying to.
goes back to
it's
Larry
scary.
Flint, Jay Harvey kind of times, right? Right.
The design team has done a deed assessment and, deed research in terms of what is legally on the property from that standpoint. And
I think it would be pretty easy to go back and look at the last proposed school project. You can see exactly what was discussed then, and that project would have had the documents that
That's exactly
this would have
what
been
I
referred to,
recommend,
so
2007.
that's why I'm saying it, what you
A lot of
have for information you want to
documentation.
share with the school so they can make sure they've got it and got it right.
If you can't find stuff, I can get you what I got too.
Yeah, sure, would be
If it helps.
happy, would be happy, sure.
I just don't want us paying for something later on that you guys are paying for, somebody's gonna pay.
We're paying it.
Sorry, 'cause that was my.
I will raise one question. If in fact there's an encumbrance on the plot,
Of the grant.
that should be recorded, Sullivan County Registry of Deeds. If not, then how does the next person know? If Ed had not have raised this question, I believe we would have completed the night without a discussion.
Right.
But if it was recorded as an easement or whatever, an infringement, then
And then how about on the school side, Ed, from the school, in any of their grant files, is there documentation of obligations?
The grant that I think is being talked about is a town grant, and it was all superseded any of the employees that are currently working at the school. So we have a little history about that. But the history we looked at indicated that the hockey rink came after the grant. It wasn't part of that original grant.
It would be me then, and there are files, so let me work on that. And in theory, I should also have, they're not necessarily easy to find, but drawings of the school throughout the years. Like I should see with the hockey exactly where it was at certain point in time. You could kind of go back to the new Votech Center. We've got drawings. So they're probably let me we have to keep this stuff. So maybe Lee, the town clerk, could help me too on finding it. So if it's a town grant and it was town land, then yeah, that would be mine, okay.
The current facility manager has been here for, I believe, 4 years. And in those 4 years, the hockey hadn't been used, and the sideboards were actually rotted. We had to take them down anyway. So it was removed
Who
in the
told you
last year.
Who told you it wasn't being used? Where did you get that information? There was 2 years ago, there was COVID, we couldn't go out of the house, of course it wasn't used. And last year, we had 1 week to make ice, and that's the only 2 years, in 35 years, you haven't had ice down there. And I take offense to that, that's God's truth. You guys know, you locals know.
Yeah,
I
we
spend
concur.
far too much.
And we go back to Winter Carnival
And
history,
that's
it's
right.
there, it's been
So I
used.
don't know that school got information, it wasn't being used. And there've been 2 projects sent through through Fred Maxfield Group that came down and we replaced boards sectionalized. LaValle donated boards for it, we've done piecemeal for the thing at very little expense to the town. So it was used.
Christine, Alan Chase might have more information also.
He might, he doesn't go, I'm thinking, he doesn't even date this far back,
No,
but
but
yes,
he might
he goes
have-
back about
certainly
30,
through the school
30
project.
years. And then, yeah, and if, now I am getting a little more concerned, so if it is tied, because it sounds like Ed, they're just hypo, their meetings are, trying to think that, whoa, well, the tennis courts were under the grant, but the hockey wasn't. I thought maybe they had some actual knowledge of that instead of hearsay. So yeah, I better figure this out, so
I could fill this room with people who tell you they used it up until the COVID.
So and I have thought asking Alan.
And you,
Yeah.
and so I don't know where you got your information on that, so I'm sorry to get alarmed, but that person maybe sold you about the grant too, because you better check into it.
So the tennis courts are gone too? No,
Yeah.
yes, they are both, but
They
they're
turned into
replaced
a
by a field. Yeah,
Soccer field.
perfect.
I think soccer's in
So-
soccer use.
And the tennis courts, I understood on the grant, they were actually specifically mentioned in part of the grant, as I recall that from some of the paperwork from that year, from those years. So I don't know who decided to do that, but I think you probably falls into that category. You can replace something in life, I guess. So.
What decade did we think this was? Definitely,
70s.
it's the 70s, not the 60s.
The school was built and
65.
and occupied 1966.
Right, 69 was first.
1970 was the first 4 years.
Oh, okay, so 70s. Okay, so that's helpful.
And
Okay.
I went through in the early 80s, and the
Yeah.
tennis courts, everything existed.
Okay,
It's
okay,
clearly
I got
in the
it.
70s.
I should be able, and this is a federal grant?
Yes.
State?
Guessing it was, yeah.
Okay,
I'm guessing it was federal. I haven't been able to find out anything through the state, so that's where I get to.
okay.
So I don't know.
It should be here then.
Okay. Any other public comments? Mr. Palmer?
To raise a little bit more smoke, to make things a little less clear. It doesn't matter what name you put to it, but your research has to be for both school and town. Because in reality, they own none of it. Town doesn't own it, school doesn't own it. The town's people own all of it. It's a significant distinction when it comes to the legality of what happened here. So if the town made a deal in that easement or encumbrance that's allowed, the school owns it, no matter what, owns the liability for it.
Right.
So,
And it's conceivable this was a town rec grant, not a town school grant, or a school.
Because if the hockey rink was previously, you're
tennis
right,
court
okay,
or-
so it could be,
it could be under both. It doesn't, to differentiate is to create a boundary line that doesn't exist.
Right. Yeah, we can't just sit back and say it's not us, yeah, we gotta look. Agreed.
And
So
you know-
if Ed from the school, if you could go back and look again with that group on your side, and then Christina will pursue the footwork on the town side.
Would you ask him who told him? what
Yes,
they-
I'll have,
He said
I'll
his
have
maintenance
Ron, check
Maintenance
check
guy.
into it.
Okay.
And obviously talking to Larry Flint wouldn't be a bad idea, because if it has to do with
It
doing
would be a
sports in the
great
town.
idea. It'd be a great idea.
If it has to do with
Larry-
doing sports in
but
town, he-
Even before him, who's the guy before him? I know you're showing my age, I lost my, yeah.
Jay was
Jay
after, wasn't
after,
he?
yeah. I'll come up with it.
But either one of them would probably know that history.
I don't, Jay
Harvey.
Harvey?
He was
but Larry precedes Jay Harvey.
Larry's the guy, yeah,
Sorry,
Larry would know, he's been actively involved for
Okay,
a long.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I can, I like,
Since the caveman carved the wheel.
Okay, any other public comment? Okay, any more comments from the board?
I'm good.
Dan? This being a more informational conversation, I think the conversation we've had about the maintenance plan, the sewer's a good one, because we gotta figure that out, are all good information to take back. Other than that, speaking for myself, I thought it was well put together and it fits that site. But it does have these other issues.
Vice Chairman, could we maybe get, when they do have the lighting settled, some diagrams that I can have
Yeah,
some
we need to get
files
those updated.
on,
for
yeah,
sure.
when you have it, and the structure will be being inspected by my department, and so we should have that knowledge of of what's gonna be put in. If you could request that.
Yeah, if we could request that, please.
Yeah, so if I could just take a quick minute, the pieces that we're gonna try to follow up with town staff about, of course, the sewer piece that was mentioned, and also bring that forward to the DPW. The rink grant, looking back into the files of that piece, providing site lighting features, the cut sheets and everything, and a plan to town staff, and then the inspection and maintenance manual, making sure that gets brought forward to staff. I believe those are the big pieces that I took in my notes. If I'm missing anything else, please.
I think that was it. The only other one that comes to mind for me would be signage. Are we adding additional signage?
There's one ground sign adjacent to the entrance, currently shown right there, small ground sign right at the entrance of the new
So
building.
you're gonna look at that for coverage?
Well, in theory, that doesn't meet, you're right, that wouldn't meet code, because
Well, it's an overall site, so you gotta look at the.
they already have, it either can be on the structure, right, or you could either be on the structure or on the road. Now, it's if you want to advise against the look of that looks kind of pretty to me, but yes, that doesn't, they also don't meet setbacks that we're obviously just letting, because they don't have anywhere else to put it. But, yeah, on the road is where you're allowed a sign that's on the ground. That's road in front of them is a walkway. So yeah, that would be in theory in violation. You would go to the ZBA. I'm sure the ZBA would give them approval, but they don't really need to go, since they can a little stretch our zoning ordinances.
Separate structure, new E911 address also.
Pardon me, say that again?
Separate structure gets a new E911 address also.
Absolutely. I can have Steve Iannuzzi, safety officer, and fire chief Alan Chase, building inspector, have been in meetings at the school with the designs of this. That's why they had no issues, because they've been incorporated while the plans were being made. I will absolutely have Steve. You want a new 911?
It requires it.
Okay, then perfect.
He knows that.
That should be a comment on the building permit, for sure.
We want the little red sign.
Yeah.
That's free though, that's good.
But getting back to the sign, so there's a sign here, not out of line, in my opinion, but we do have sign ordinances that we have to follow. And the school already got a special exception for the lit sign at the front on Route 10. And if somebody all of a sudden had an idea to drop another one out there, that's not gonna fly. So.
No, I think it's
That's
better
all right.
right there. Is that lit? No.
We would like to have lighting on it. That full design of it would not, has not been flushed out. But
On the sign, you'd like to have lighting?
on this little guy, yeah.
So
It
it
wouldn't be
itself,
backlit, correct?
Correct.
Not backlit, there would be a little spotlight just on the sign itself.
not coming from the ground, that's from the ground.
I'm not sure if we have that full
Okay.
design.
Yeah.
That goes against, we don't have any
Can't have
uplighting.
any
It would,
protection
you could have a little, you could have lights attached to the top that go down,
Or you
but
could-
no uplighting.
Put one on your porch
We're
that
not-
spots at it or something that may work better.
Okay.
That still is cut off, it can
Okay.
Okay.
get there enough, but.
I don't think we're fond of the ground either, just from the snow standpoint.
Oh, that's
So
true.
I think we were trying to get it up off the ground, but we haven't quite flushed out at the time.
It's like it could go up on one of the walls.
Okay, so new
You
911.
didn't turn it back to you guys yet, have you? Okay.
It's informal, so it's in board, but I'm willing to listen.
So you're gonna approve this tonight, so we'll never hear from anything again. How does somebody like me know the result of what I just brought up?
We don't approve it.
No, I didn't think so. That's why I
All we,
wasn't doing
this
this.
is informational, we can,
So how?
we can say we've
Can't that be-
met our due diligence on what to look for, but
We've made the recommendations, they've said in good faith that they're gonna
Yeah, can
work
you-
on those and get answers to those.
Can
And I think that's,
Can they get a report back to you through you, so that?
They'll
we
come back
can-
to Christina
So the
through,
public knows, I mean, I'm just, just. that's all.
Ed, I obviously could keep you in the loop on how I try to find the information on the grant, and then are you interested in what the other things with the building, the lighting and everything that too?
Oh, I think, you got nothing to work with there. You've got so much land, I understand it. It's a bad spot, but wetlands and all that, but you're gonna do what you're gonna do and make it happen, and we need the school.
But I could
I
keep you
just-
in the loop.
And wouldn't it be on the school board to also keep
I would
Right,
keep
I
you
would-
in
Community
the loop.
informed,
You might,
you know,
you know,
about
I'm
where
gonna
this is
try my
going or
best, so I would
what's going on
obviously
with it?
let you know.
Christina, to
Yes.
Tobin's point that he just made, and I would concur, that we would like to hear back from the school board, that they have researched and addressed this item, as in particular the grant.
Just to review it. on next meeting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I
Or
will
review it in
too.
future meeting, they may not have it in time, but for the next one.
Make it-
I will keep in touch with the Ed and the school board and obviously the architects and the engineers. If they were gonna, and then I'm gonna do, I hope I can just find it. If I can find it, it'll answer everything. So, and then we could obviously have the school board come here and present next month or the following month. And since it's not a case that I would have to give notice for to present just about the grant, that they could, it could be up to the day, and then I could put it on the agenda.
Right. Well, and if you do find something that creates an issue, it may become a board of selectmen issue more than a planning board issue.
Well, I think it falls, like Bert said, the expense, if this is the case, the school would want to be aware that there might be an issue with additional fees on this project.
Yeah, well, we'd have to kick it to the board of selectmen for their purview, because they're in charge of the purse, so.
Are they, for the
And the
school?
obligation
For the school?
to the grant. No, if
Oh.
so if you research the grant and it becomes, it's a town grant,
Oh,
then
right.
the board of selectmen are responsible.
Right, I'm
for
thinking it was a
both
school
grants.
grant. I was thinking it's a school, right, it's a town grant, then we would be on the hook. Okay,
Potentially, yeah.
I will keep in touch about this grant with everyone, and I'll work tomorrow, I've got tomorrow on this, and whatever works, but I bet you I'll be able to come up with this. If it was a town grant, I should be able to find this pretty easy.
This is intended to hit the ground in the spring, is that
I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the first phase is really starting to work on some of the renovation pieces, so the mechanical systems in the spring. And then I think the goal for the new building was to kind of hit the ground once it thaws, maybe late spring, early summer, to start the early construction.
So you may, so as you look at permitting, if this is still a sticky wicket, you may have to do a phased permit issue, building permit issue. Type thing.
Right, I don't know if it actually comes through that there's monetary ramifications for the town. I would assume, right, it gets immediately kicked to BOS, and if, it depends how quickly they make a decision.
The goal is very clearly, from our point of view, to provide, all those follow-up items to staff well in advance of that, to get it hammered out.
Just to clarify, it is a phased project. The early MEP stuff that's happening in the new building is part of phase one, and that's being permitted separately from the rest of the project. So
Didn't know that. Okay.
two HVAC systems take a long time to order right now, so
Well,
we broke that piece out.
I'm in the industry, so I get it, but the other piece is it is state funded, majority of it, so that may need to be exposed, which may muck the works there as well.
And there's talk out there about our shortfall. The shortfall, state of New Hampshire has pledged to, haven't said the check yet, but $1.5 million is the hole that they gotta fill, and they've said yes. So,
In writing?
well, they said yes.
Okay. Okay. Any other comments, discussions? We can leave it at that. at this point. Thank you very much. It was a good conversation. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Look forward to the
Thank you.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to read out. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
Both ends, thank you.
Hopefully, if there is a grant involved and money can be done, hopefully it's that price back then.
Yeah.
Because then it's gonna be like $500.
Mr. Carr, Ed, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carr.
That fit pencil jacket.
No, she got the second. Okay. You want to take it over? So you want to come back up for it, or?
No, you have to vote me in again. I'm all set. You got more than enough people that can work.
Number 6, trucking right along.
Did you vote on this?
They did vote to
We
open.
did accept it as complete with the one, I can say.
The lighting. Never a dull moment.
Whatever you'd like to do. We can fund the car out, space here for us down afterwards.
Thank you all again.
Thank you.
Should be one underneath for that.
Have a we'll be in touch.
But that's, a lot of this written down, I think has a reference to it. Okay.
No, so this one just.
Ken, I would just note the few things you mentioned, the grant, the lighting.
Yeah, that's on this, so, on the planning board decision,
Yeah, just what we said, yeah. The grant investigation, the lighting, the sign, that it's, exterior. Sewer, I'm gonna look into that because I think that might have been solved. What was it? There was something else. Maybe not, maybe not. Oh, the maintenance plan.
yeah, and that's always a big issue with those kind of systems, because they tend to get weedy and overrun, and then they're useless. So if they're not maintained properly.
Okay,
They fail.
okay.
And then they'll, like I said, it'll flood out over the field hockey field and all that work we've gone to.
So we should have that prior to permitting also.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, our next order of business is the minutes for December 2022. Did anybody find anything that was omitted or messed up? It was pretty short, so.
I'll make a motion to accept as minutes of 12/13/2022 as documented.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Ayes have it. Next is the administration on signed hardscrabble subdivisions and Broder.
So you guys sign the Mylars, but for our internal copies, we're supposed to sign and these were already approved subdivisions that you did, you know, I think that I missed, not the Mylar, but the signing just our internal paperwork. They've already been
I
subdivided.
don't think we had it to sign.
I know, it's probably me, I should have, no, it's my fault. However, it didn't come. But I do have some black pens and two. You guys also might have, I think you can sign with blue too. I did bring black.
I'm
And
patient, I can wait for black.
I'd also like to thank the planning board for my get well card when I was in the hospital last month, and I appreciate it. That's the other administrative note.
You remember the date on that for the Mylar? Or do you want
No,
to date
leave it blank, I'll date it.
Okay.
That's a good point, I
Want me
should
to
have,
give that
done
one
that
glance at this
already.
end?
Might want to cover that blue.
Not often I'm close to the top here. They usually move the other way. They reach me and I start going, oh, I have no one.
They go back first. Did everyone?
There's 3 of them, right? I've only done 2.
There are 3, there's 2 hard scrabbles, and again, these were all,
Don't date it.
I've only done 2 so far, so.
and then, yeah, I'll take that, thanks.
So I
This is
wrote-
good, yeah, perfect.
So that was the completeness.
Yes, and they're
the
gonna
next
bring,
one, I just wrote down, I
perfect.
said reviewed only.
Absolutely, but I think they'll comply, right, I think, and they should.
That was good faith, I think. it was-
Yeah, absolutely, well, before,
I
yeah.
just, when they lead with that, instead of saying, we
No.
can do that, but we're gonna follow procedure, we're gonna. do-
No, absolutely.
We're gonna set our town standards, we're gonna meet our town standards just like every other
Right,
person, is the better way to do it.
I think so too, and I think they're looking to do that. It's a gorgeous structure.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's beautiful, but I wanna go back to school.
it ought to be for.
Agricultural.
We can't get a rec center for 8, but we can get that for 14, and you can put 3 of these inside the rec center?
I
Whose
don't,
math is that?
right, that's weird, I don't know. It's gonna be
Okay,
very-
next order of business is any other administration before we jump out of this?
Just the thank you for your get well card that was sent to me
You're
while I
more
was in
than
the
welcome.
hospital. I very much appreciate it. It was a very pleasant surprise.
I gave
And
them money to send your flowers, they were.
They said no flowers for Christina.
She'll break her arm lifting them.
the other thing that we wanted to, did we get a copy to go over the
Oh,
questionnaire for the update to the,
I
Master
didn't
plan.
bring any of them, but you know what we do have to address on administration, starting, see if we can set up other additional meetings. Because we were gonna start the new year to send it out the new year, right?
Yes.
I do have an updated one. Okay,
we have the printed one, which is, can I see this?
no, I updated it.
That was-
No, I
This
shrunk
was
it
the
down.
update, right?
That's not the, that was
Oh.
the first one, then we edited that.
I have an
Oh,
updated
okay.
one. So okay, hold on. Let me email out an updated one, and then, the next meeting is the 14th. If I send out the updated one, because I did update it and shrink it down, we're about down to just like 4 pages, maybe 5. If I then, I could send it out all via email. If you all agreed on it, I think I could just bring it to the next meeting. It could probably be mailed out in February. And even if you had changes in the February meeting, we could then still mail it out in February.
I think we should get it out before.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes,
I
we
should
need-
have,
We need to get on that.
yes, it should go out, no, or we have an extra maybe just wait for the February meeting and do it then at the end.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm gonna bring my wife for Valentine's Day to the meeting.
there
There you
you go.
go.
Midnight.
okay, I'm gonna, and I have updated it. I got it all updated, and it's smaller, so.
We want to acknowledge our audience before he pops.
So
You have something.
So on December 15th, you sent out the master plan survey.
Updated,
Yes.
December 15th.
I'm looking at the email now.
I think I was in the hospital.
Well, somebody sent it out under your email.
Mara did one.
You
No,
did.
this was under, so.
I went into the hospital on the
Under
11th.
Christina, I did it in her office because I got it off of her
So
computer.
this is the
Up-
one, this is the
Yeah,
follow-up
I
from
was-
the edit.
I was still,
So if everybody could go back and look at their email on that one, make comments, then we can.
and
move
then
on.
I could, and then you know what, I can update whatever, and then, right, okay, so I was in the hospital, I think, through their 17th, so that's interesting, I'm either a wizard or, yeah, something else was going on, which, thank you, Maura, I appreciate it, I knew it,
It
so.
was from Maura, yeah, but it was your email.
Yeah, absolutely. She
Yeah.
she filled in the,
Okay.
yeah, I dropped off the face of the earth. Yeah, so, okay, so so now well, there you go. I didn't even do anything. It's been sent out. Thank you, Maura. So, and I can resend it.
Before
If you
I-
have
question for
reformatted it,
Christina.
send
What's
it.
that?
I have a question for Christina.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Christina, if you send out documents and then ask people if they approve them or not, you're violating the right to know law, is my belief.
I wasn't gonna ask to have it approved.
Okay, you're just gonna send it to them FYI, and then they come to a meeting to make the decision.
Yeah, and then approve it at the meeting.
Okay.
That way
Yes.
we can, if we
Yeah.
need to put
A change.
another sentence or change numbers or do something, we still can and then still get it out.
You can do corrections and your opinions and etc.
Yes.
But you cannot
Right.
do a
Approved. No.
consensus all.
No, I was just to get it before and then it could go right out. And I could prep for I've never done a mailing that size, the whole town, so I'll have to figure that out too.
Send it to Claremont, good for you.
I got an idea.
She can't even get confirmation from the board on whether they're coming or not.
I'm all right, but look at how great it is. Okay, great. Well, there we go. So perfect.
Do you want it on yellow paper?
Right. There you
So
go.
it's this survey we were gonna send out? They had done this years ago. This is about the master plan, so we're trying to get information from town.
The yellow. No, I did. I did miss it. I don't get it.
The yellow flare.
The one in the emails is a slightly different version that we pared down.
No.
And got rid of some of it. We tried to
You'll have to
simplify
fill
it,
me
but
in
just take a quick
sometime.
look at it and you come to
So
the
the
next
people
meeting.
will
we can
actually
vote on
use it.
Yeah, because if it's too big, people won't need to look at it. They'll just throw it away.
I think I recall doing it.
Remember, there was a
No,
big
this
one.
one. I think I
Yeah,
had.
it's the
Michael,
first one, yeah.
The
I'll
first
send-
one had like 10
if-
answers to each question.
If you were on the December emailing,
That was a lot.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
So you got it in the mail, or in your email?
Yes.
Oh, okay, perfect. There you go, Moore's, got everyone, perfect.
Okay, we'll go to communications to the board. Anything coming in? Nothing. And I'll open it to the public for public comment. Seeing no hands, we'll come back.
Make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion
I'll second.
and a second by Tobin to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed?
Opposed?
Any abstentions? Time is 7:16. We're done. Thank you.
Nice.